Welcome to the Joy Inspired podcast. I'm Nikki Cruise, and I'm thrilled to explore with you what it means to walk in a faith-infused business. This is your space to find powerful tools and insights, to build with resilience, and to create impact through your unique purpose, discovering a joy that only God can provide. Together, let's embrace a business journey anchored in faith and empowered by joy. Let's jump in. Well, hello there, amazing kingdom builders. It's me, Nikki Cruise, your resident joy junkie. And I want to welcome you back to another amazing episode of the Joy Inspired podcast. And today we have so much power coming forward here. We have an amazing guest. But before we get to our amazing guest, who's learned to bring more joy into her life through a healing journey, through and the most incredible path, which you'll hear about, I want to remind you that joy is not just the cherry on the top. Joy is the strategy that fuels your business, fuels your purpose, and fuels your life. So listen up, because today's juicy episode, we're going to dive into cellular-level healing. Yeah, I know when I first heard that, it kind of went straight over my head. You heard me right. We're not just talking surface-level affirmations or just slapping a scripture on your planner or quoting it here and there. We're actually going to dig deep. And we're talking about what happens to your body, your brain, and actually your business too, when everything comes into alignment with God, what God has actually been whispering to you all along. You just may not have heard it. And my guest knows all about that. Cindy Costley is the founder of the Underlying Answers and the Electromagnetic body desensitization technique. I'm going to let her say that all in one sentence in a moment, because boy, it's a mouthful.
It is.
But you know what? It's so powerful, and it's not as complicated as all of that sounds. For some of us, we get a little overwhelmed by those words, but don't worry, she will break it down for us. And she helps so many not only release hidden blocks that keep them stuck, but also build thriving businesses that reflect that God-given purpose that we all have. And this part really makes me happy. You know, I want to do my happy dance when I'm around Cindy, because you know what? She's taken it one step further. She's even certifying other people now to do the same thing. It's multiplication. It's a ripple effect that goes out. So, Cindy, thank you so much for being here today. It's been an honor to be on summits with you recently, get to know you, and I'm just so excited to introduce you to our audience here.
Thank you so much, Nikki. Wow, what a beautiful introduction. It's such a pleasure to be on your podcast because you exude what you speak. When we talk about walking the talk, I think of you, Joy. Truly, through all the good, the bad, the hard, the easy, all of it, you just bring joy. And you're such an inspiration. So thank you for having me on today.
Well, thank you so much. And I don't know how we're going to possibly contain this to one episode, but let's see how we go. And Cindy, I really have to start right here with your story, because your story is super powerful. You built a business that looked so successful on the outside. You know, that thing we all do where we're smiling on the outside and inside we're crying tears. We may even be not unaware that we're crying tears. And your body just started screaming for rest.
Yes.
Can you share how that season of burnout became the turning point? And it's actually something to celebrate. Sorry to say it, but that season of burnout is something we get to celebrate, because that's what led you to your point of healing, and in fact, to what you do now.
Yes. Thank you for asking that. And yeah, it was quite a journey. I'm going to start by saying that I once worked for corporate America, and my daughter was in a really bad cheerleading accident, and she needed me to be home taking care of her. So I had to leave my job, and I decided to start a business from home. And that led me into a 10-year journey of building a fabulous business that I was so proud of. And I worked day and night all weekend long till late at night. I worked from home. I had my employees in the home. I never took a break. And as my kids went off to college and I continued to grow it and to build and to grow, I got wrapped up in where I wanted to be. And I stopped listening to what was happening in the moment. I was so focused on that future and how big I wanted my company to be and how many people I wanted to help that I stopped listening to what was happening to me in the moment. And oh, I remember a time where I was working with young adults at the time, and it was New Year's Day, and I was super sick, and I still had him come to my house and sit down and do a session with him. And then I got even more sick because I didn't let myself the rest. I didn't say, no, I can't see you today. Right. And so I learned so much. And then 10 years in, I had to give it all up, every bit of it, because I had to choose me because my body was shutting down. I stopped listening for so long that my body had to scream so loud that I almost left this planet. And that was a really big eye opener for me. That started a whole new journey of what do I really want out of life? Because I thought I wanted this big successful business, right?
And I'm sitting here nodding my head, and I'm sure many of you out there are nodding your heads because we've been there, pushing through, thinking productivity equals worth, and even going
Yes.
beyond that. And eventually our bodies do hit the brakes. It's like that heart attack that's waiting for a place to happen. And we go, oh no, just one more thing first. And it's not just a heart attack. And it reminds me of 3 John 1 2, where God actually says, beloved, I pray that you may prosper in all things and be in health, just
Yes.
as your soul prospers. God cares about your success. Yes, He does. But He cares even more about your wholeness. And this is something that Cindy is really all about.
Yes.
Somewhere along the way, God didn't just heal you, Cindy. He gave you a method. And
Yeah.
it's about this elect- electromagnetic body desensitization technique. There, I got it that right.
You
Or
got it.
easier, EBT. Why did God lead you to create it?
So that is quite a journey. I will say, let me start by just backing up. When I had to leave my business, my soul was wanting to dance. I told my husband, I said, my soul wants to dance, and it's going to dance either here on this earth or somewhere else. I knew my doctors were saying that my liver and kidneys were shutting down. We needed to start keeping you comfortable. They were trying to figure out what was happening. And tiny bit of background, I had 34 years of chronic illness. So this didn't come on suddenly for me. I didn't listen for over 40 years to my body. So when I got to that point that I had to choose, or I got to choose, I see it as a gift now. I got to choose between my business and my health. I, of course, chose my health. I shut down my business and I started on my own journey of desensitization. And it was a functional medicine doctor that said, you need to start desensitization immediately. And what I learned through my process is that all of my chronic illness, which for me manifested as severe allergic reactions, so massive rashes all over my skin for over 34 years. And all of it was my body screaming at me to heal something from my past. So my childhood was pretty traumatic when it came to some sexual trauma. And I never addressed any of it. I suppressed one of them. I never addressed another because I thought I would get somebody in trouble. Our families were very close, and so I just let it all manifest inside me. And I went through life joyful. I think of you, Joy, like that's what I did. I thought, oh, I'm happy. Everything's good. It could be worse. And really, all those allergic reactions were my body saying, heal me, know me, feel me. So when I started this desensitization process, which is really just going back in and being willing to address those difficult times when my body and my brain said, oh, this grass is in the surroundings. These foods are in your digestive system. The smell was in your surroundings when you were, having these traumas. So all of this is not safe. So my body basically said everything that was in my surroundings, that was in my digestive system, that I could smell, see, hear, or touch became a threat to me. So when it came to the desensitization, it was about retraining my body. Because here's the thing, Joy, dysregulation is not just something to normalize. I started having this allergic reaction. Oh, now I'm allergic to this. Oh, now I'm allergic to this. And I just normalized one after another until I started labeling myself as the girl allergic to the world, right? So as I started doing the desensitization process and recognizing that my symptoms were God's beautiful gift, my body's beautiful gift to me, trying to tell me something so much deeper, and I learned to see my symptoms as a beautiful message, that started to shift everything. So I needed to say that before I get into EBDT, because desensitization is all about going back and desensitizing your body to the reason that it's in dysregulation in the first place, mentally, emotionally, physically, behaviorally, spiritually, and energetically. And so, did you have a question?
I did. I just wanted to just take a deep breath there because
Yeah.
for so many of us, we don't stop and think about this. God created these incredible and highly complex bodies. And
Yes.
when you go through trauma, I mean, PTSD is something similar to this. When you go through a trauma, it's not just in your mind, it
Yeah.
plays out in your body in different ways. And it's easy for us to say, well, yes, that's why people, for example, can't walk. Okay.
Right.
But there are smaller ways. Why do you think when you get anxious, you break out in hives? Why do
Yeah.
you think when you're upset, you suddenly maybe you have a nose twitch? It's a connection between your emotions, your brain, and your body. So,
Yes.
coming from an ignorant point of view, and of course, I've been fascinated listening to Cindy talk before. So, and I really stopped and thought about this and thought how real this was and how it makes it so available for, with the help of somebody like Cindy, to step into healing we didn't think was possible. And I
Yes.
just wanted to emphasize that because that it was absolutely beautiful when I realized that. And I thought, well, okay, so next time I have, for example, an asthma attack, I get to ask myself a few questions. And it's not just the obvious questions. It's not just what allergens are around. There are a lot more questions than that to ask. So go ahead, Cindy. I interrupted you there because you're familiar with this stuff. For a lot of us, it's new and it's like, okay, let me just take that in for a moment.
Yeah, thank you. Because I do. It's so easy for me to keep talking, but that what you're saying is so true. And honestly, it is the answer. God gave us these intricate, beautiful bodies, and we can easily go into dysregulation, but that also means that God gave us the answers of how to bring us back out of dysregulation. Right? Things that happen. I call it woo. I know woo woo is not a very fun term, but my woo woo is a little different. It's WHU, worldly hangups. We come into this world, these pure, beautiful souls, and then we get full of woo woo, which is worldly hangups, traumas, stressors, emotional messages that we teach ourselves, or protection that we create for ourselves in ways that kind of served us maybe when we were young, but they're no longer serving us, especially as we're building businesses and trying to thrive in life as an adult, right? And all along, our body and our symptoms are trying to tell us that there's something deeper to hold, to listen to learn, to hear. And that's the key, is learning to listen to your body, seeing your body as your best friend, as God's beautiful architect. And it built you from like a cell, right? A cell. God built this beautiful body. That means that those cells know how to reverse that dysregulation as well. So the one thing that I'll say is, when we go through things when we're younger, whatever traumas and stressors we think as humans, we often think about, how it affects us mentally. And there's lots of talk about, mental work, and we've got the way we think and the way we speak and, the messages we're saying, the energy we're putting out, it all makes a difference. And it's 100% true that our messaging to ourselves, just like me telling myself I was the girl allergic to the world, I became my own self-fulfilling prophecy because the more I thought I was becoming allergic, the more I became allergic. The more I thought I was going to be allergic, the more fear I had, the more my world shrunk and shrunk and shrunk and shrunk until I was literally unable to leave the house for over 8 months. So, what I didn't know though, and what's so magical about this type of healing, is when I had those traumas, it didn't just impact me mentally, it impacted my physical well being, my physical cells, my methylation pathways, which are the the biochemical pathways for each cell. And that's a whole podcast in itself. But when one methylation pathway gets out of balance, it changes how our body starts to respond to things. And over time, more and more trauma, more and more stressors, more and more dysregulation, more and more symptoms, right? But what we don't understand is we can actually go back and tell ourselves, no, we're actually safe. No, we don't need to do this or to behave this way. We can behave the way God made us to behave. And that's what desensitization does.
And I really, I mean, Cindy, I'm a testimony to that,
Yes.
because in my circumstances, in that time in a wheelchair, I chose, I'm going to be the best version of myself, wheelchair or walking.
Yes.
And when I said that to God, I took a different attitude. At the time, I knew nothing about neuroplasticity. I knew nothing about rewiring your brain or anything like that. I
Yes.
know it now. And the fact that that joy brought the healing, that doesn't take away from the miraculous healing God did. But you know what it does affirm is that God created our bodies so intricately to work with our bodies to heal by the way we think, by
Yes.
understanding and releasing that. And maybe that's why you and I get on so well, is because
Yeah.
I went through that without even realizing it.
Yeah.
And, the joy of the Lord is our strength, and
Yeah.
laughter is good medicine. All of those things are part and parcel of that. But
Yes.
I'm curious about one thing. You're
Yes.
telling me why, while some of us, me in particular, are still trying to figure out Wi-Fi passwords and tech, God was downloading an entire blueprint for healing
Yes.
to you. So come on. I mean, give me a break. But
Okay.
seriously, what I love is that this isn't just theory. You're not just saying, oh, I've got
No.
a blueprint. It's been proven in the lives of your clients.
Yes.
Do you have any stories to share? Do you have examples of just inspirations and things that are practical shifts that maybe from those examples that some of
Yes.
our viewers or watchers can?
Yeah, absolutely. Let me start by answering the question you asked before, which is, how did EBDT come into fruition? Because this will help to understand what it is. When I went through the process, it took me 5.5 years to do desensitization. And it was a long, long journey. And as I was healing, God was giving me, I want you to start writing now. And I literally had an argument with God. If I'm going to write, you need to tell me what website, because I'm so analytical, right? If I'm going to write, I'm not going to just pick up a journal. I need a website, and I need to be able to put a blog and blah, blah, blah. And I literally heard the words, and I was home alone. I was arguing with God because I wanted it to be something about the root cause, and God kept telling me no. And I heard the words loud and clear in my own house by myself, the underlying answers. I said, okay, God. I ran upstairs and I bought the URL. A while later, so I started to develop this program where I'm working with clients and I'm going through the desensitization. And then I started panicking like, how am I ever going to help people? I can't do desensitization. I don't know how to do this. And God kept saying, just wait, just wait, just wait. And before I knew it, I was doing it. And I literally woke up in the middle of the night, sat up, straight up in bed, and said, electromagnetic body desensitization technique. And my husband said, what? And I said, electromagnetic body desensitization technique. Write that down. And so I went back to bed. I wrote it down. I went back to bed, and it evolved over time, over years. So it's not something that just happened overnight. But as I healed, the more I healed, the more I said yes to the gifts that God was giving me. And I started recognizing that my healing journey, which was not easy, every desensitization, I was in bed for 4 days. So for almost 5 years, not the last year, but almost 5 years, I was in bed 4 days a week with some very severe side effects of this desensitization. My program is very different. EBDT is very different. It doesn't do that. But that's how my body healed through itself is by going down before coming back up, right? And
Yeah.
so with EBDT, I learned that we have to go back, and what God was showing me is it's about our timeline. It's about going back and saying, okay, first this happened. I was born in the world, this pure soul. Or actually, for a lot of clients, I already started with dysregulation because my mom was so stressed and had so much anger or frustration or sadness or whatever it was in my womb that I need to actually clear that because I came into the world with the propensity for anxiety and stress and frustration because what my mom went through, right? So we go back through the timeline, and God showed me that we're just going back and reversing those woos, telling our story. You mentioned neuroplasticity. We're literally telling the brain that that program, that what happened is okay. It doesn't have to take us down anymore. And it does
Yeah.
three things. EBDT does three things. It retrains the brain and the body, it releases trapped emotions, and it changes our cellular imprint back to the way that it used to be before that event happened. So, with those three things, we're healing on the physical, the mental, the emotional, the spiritual, the energetic, the behavioral, all of it. Now,
And that's what we call redemption, folks. You
mm,
know, that is God redeeming our bodies.
yes,
And I'm also a great believer in my pastor wrote a book, Redeeming Your Timeline. And it says how God cannot change the facts of the things that happened to you, but he can change what you took out of it. In other words, how it affected you, because God can redeem your timeline. And it's the same thing as what you're talking about here, Cindy.
yes,
Can't change traumatic events. They happen, they are fact.
yes.
But how they affected your body through this desensitization, you can change what's been taken out of it. This is hope, folks. This
Yeah.
is huge hope.
It really is. And I'll give you the example you asked for. I have a client that had a severe trauma when her son was 4 years old. He was playing with a good friend of his. They were running in and out of the house, and she did what most of us moms do: play in or play out. You're dragging mud in the house, right? So the two of them ran outside, and a few minutes later, she's like, they're kind of quiet. I better check on them. And they had walked into a little refrigerator. They had opened a little mini fridge that was on the porch and stepped in it, and it instantly sucked the air out of it, and she found them dead in the refrigerator.
Oh,
This is the one of the most severe types of trauma someone can undergo. And when she came to me, she said, I have cried and wept and been angry at myself and all the things, right? The fear, the frustration, the anger, all the things for 40 years. So we start desensitization, and we couldn't start there. We had to start in some other places. And then when we got to that trauma, she said, God showed me that I'm at peace now. And I let go of the anger. I let go of my own guilt. I let go of the pain. And now I love him every night, and I talk to him and I love him, and there's no triggering, there's no pain. And the other day she was in my office and she says, "Cindy, I lay in bed now giggling, going, this joy is the most amazing feeling." Because she had a lot more trauma, believe it or not, beyond that. She's definitely,
Wow.
this woman has been through more than what I could ever fathom for somebody. And still, she was very bitter, very closed in. She had lost relationships with her kids. She'd shut everybody out because she was angry and she was hurt and she was scared to get hurt again. And all that is gone. She's volunteering at Habitat for Humanity. She's back communicating and seeing all her kids again. She is living her life with joy and peace because those events haven't gone away. She can see them just like I can still see my traumas, but there's no trigger, there's no brain reaction to them anymore. It's just like watching a movie now.
Yeah. That is so beautiful. And a lot of you might be saying, well, this is the Entrepreneurs Joy Inspired podcast. What on earth are we talking about all this? Until you heal up and until you find that inner healing and that peace, it is so difficult to find joy in your business. You're going to have all those things carrying forward. And just before we close out, I just want Cindy to tell us a little bit something about what makes her so unique. Not only does she deal with the inner healing work, but she also mentors clients in practical business systems. Why do you believe both sides are necessary for sustainable success, the inner and the outer?
That's a really great question. And the answer is really quite simple. We have what's happening in our brain and we have real life. How do I know? What do I do? How do I get from A to Z? Especially with technology changing overnight, right?
Mhm.
And passing us up. Like as soon as we feel like we've grasped something, a whole new process comes up and we're supposed to now learn this, or new algorithms on social media, right? So there's just so much that we could all use a partner in building a business. And I've been there. I've done everything that I could do wrong. And I will tell you that I know God had me build that 10-year business so that I could learn a lot of lessons that I did not do right, because I made a lot of mistakes. And now I know not to do those in these and now in this business. And now I know how to help my clients learn from my own mistakes as well. But it's a partnership. You're right. We've got to heal up. And I do want to say that when we have all those stressors and traumas and all the dysregulation happening in our body, we can't be the best at building the business that we are aiming for. We might have the vision and the goal and the drive and the motivation. But if you have, for instance, in my own healing, just talking on podcasts, I had a core belief that my words cannot, that I can't get the words up. And when I first started speaking in podcasts, I couldn't speak. I would stop. I would freeze. And so then I hid and I stopped doing the podcast. And then I got to heal that. And I got to realize, oh, that's because I learned to shut my mouth, to not speak, because I was told if you speak out, something bad's going to happen in my traumas. And so I learned back then to hold back. So that's just one example of how our past can impact what we're trying to achieve. And God wants us to fully thrive in the business that we're meant to do in this lifetime. And that comes by going back and seeing what areas are holding us back and being willing and brave to, heal that, to look at the patterns that we've established over the years that are no longer serving us in building God's kingdom, as you say.
Yeah. And yeah, because let's get real. You can heal that inner child,
Yeah.
but if you don't know how to get your Stripe account up, you're still going to be crying at the end of the day. So
Yeah.
you help people do both, succeed at both, but
Yes.
so powerful and so true. And Cindy, this has been amazing. I know there is so much more I want to ask you. I know there are different different aspects of this and all the rest. And I think we maybe get to have you back. You
I would
know,
love to come
there are
back.
different frequencies of healing. And I get excited because I know one of them is joy. So we get to have you back for a part two sometime, and that would be amazing. But for now, to all our listeners, I hope that you have got as much as you possibly could out of this. And Cindy, where, okay, before we go, give me one scripture, daily practice, or something that you lean on to stay aligned with God and grounded in your purpose.
Great question. I have learned that God speaks through our body, that this is literally God's temple for me, Cindy Costley, human being on this earth. So, every morning I start with my prayers and my meditation and all of that, but you all know that, right? You know how important that is, those daily practices and, really looking at our meditation practices and our daily, step by steps. But on top of that, I would love for you to just start recognizing that everything that you're feeling in your body is a message from God. It's a message from your body temple. And it's God speaking at you. It's your body speaking at you, saying, hear me. So I call it a purposeful pause. So if I can leave you with anything, it's I have that ache. I'm going to take a purposeful pause and see, what is it my body's trying to tell me right now? Do I need to get up and stretch my legs? Have I been in front of this computer for too long? Do I need to go step out in nature? Do I just need to take a breath because this algorithm or this thing on Stripe, I can't get this stupid Stripe thing to work and it's not functioning right and I'm just getting frustrated? And so do I need to feel that emotion? Do I need to go punch the air and let that anger out and then sit back down and calm down again? So take a purposeful pause and recognize it as not just something to do, but instead a message from God, a message from your soul body saying, hear me, I have a message for you right now.
And Cindy, you may not know this, but I have a whole teaching and on the power of the pause.
Oh, I
And
didn't know that.
and I actually have an ebook called Pause with Purpose.
Oh my
So
gosh,
we
that's
was just so
fantastic.
aligned on that. And you know
Yes.
what? For those of you, we haven't gone into it this time round. We will next time. But Cindy not only does her coaching in this, but she equips other people to do it. So if your ears are pricking up and you're going, this might be for me, Cindy, those listening to want to either heal, but also want to equip others and want to connect with you about that. And check out your certification program for spiritual coaches and healers. Where do they connect with you? And this will also be in the details. But Cindy, where's the best place to connect with you?
The easiest way to connect with me is through the underlyinganswers.com. And I just want to say that EBDT bridges, and this is why I feel it's so powerful and why God brought this mission on for me. It bridges Western medicine through kinesiology, Eastern philosophy, and spiritual healing. And that's the power of what it is, because it's merging God in with the healing process. And so you can find me and the information on just me as a coach, and then also as for the certification program at the underlying answers plural.com.
I know for some of you out there, you might feel, whoa, this is different. This is a bit out there. So before you shut it off in your mind, I'm asking you, go and pray. Go and use your discernment. Just because something is new or different to you doesn't mean it's wrong. And maybe not all of this is right for you. Maybe it all is. But go and ask God if there is something in this that could take you one step closer to your healing, to your empowerment, to what God wants to bring to you. Because as I say, I am a walking testimony of the fact that when we choose joy, in other words, what we put into our brains, the thoughts, the understanding our emotions, the effect that can have on our entire body. It's scientifically proven. And science is just proving how cool God is because he made our bodies that way. So don't just throw it out. Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Prayerfully, discerningly, ask God if there is something in here that is for you for your healing. So, not to want to be really heavy, but just remember that you get to choose joy. And if something is foreign and unknown, use discernment so that you maintain your joy. But joy is not always just having that grin on your face. Joy is knowing with certainty that God's got your back. And what God wants for you is healing and wholeness. And that's the same for your business and your personal life. So until next time, keep your joy boots on, keep your eyes lifted up, and keep asking God, what is your next step, your next level of healing to get closer to him? And remember, joy is your fiercest weapon. So till next week, I'll see you all. Blessings. Bye. Thank you so much for joining me on the Joy Inspired Podcast at www.joyinspiredpodcast.com. Make sure you hit that subscribe button so that you can get this and every other episode that comes out. We have lots of great stuff coming and you don't want to miss it. So make sure to hit that subscribe. I am so grateful for all the reviews and comments, and I look forward to serving you in next week's episode.